All right, guys, here it is. This is the Mule Team in Magnacut. And this knife has been stored on the kayak. It's been used on the salt water multiple days. It's cleaned some big, heavy-scaled fish. It's sawed through rib bones, etc. And it's been stored in a salt-filled compartment that's at high temperature. So we're going to take a look at the knife and give it a once-over and see if there's any corrosion showing up on it. So I see a little spot up here. If you look, that's just fish goo. And the reason it's got fish goo all over is I haven't even cleaned this knife purposely. So all that stuff just comes right off. You'll see no corrosion, discoloration, or spotting on the blade itself. And you want to pay special attention to the edge, to the grind there, and see if you see any discoloration. I see a tiny bit of discoloration right here. But let's see if this comes off. Again, I believe that's just a little dead fish goo. So I'm not seeing anything on the edge. This side, I'm going to check this crack really good here along the plunge line. That all looks clean. Clean of corrosion, that is, obviously. I'm not seeing, again, I'm going to examine this with a loupe too. But again, I'm not seeing anything on the edge. Just one tiny spot there, but again, that comes right off. That's not corrosion. That's more dirt or grime. And there's really not much out of the Spyderco, which is kind of surprising, actually. So let's go ahead and get to the elephant in the room right here. I'd be kind of surprised if this didn't happen. This corrosion that you see right here. What causes this, and you'll see this often on some of the salt fixed blades with the small trademark hole in the blade. This corrosion is a result of residue left from the drill bit or the drilling process. And you'll see this corrosion anywhere else, and forgive my fingernails, I'm a guitar player, so whatever. You don't see this anywhere else, so we know that this is a result of cross-contamination from the drill bit, residue of either a carbon steel or a less stainless steel. And that corrosion does come right off, but we want to check this with a loupe and see how much pitting has occurred on the Magnacut itself, because this is the only concern with steels like this and LC200N alone. When they're not in contact with another steel, it's really, really difficult to get them to corrode in any way. If you leave them in contact with a less stainless steel, the other steel will cause some corrosion, and that corrosion can actually create a corrosive process with the Magnacut or the LC200N or whatever. So if there had been no hole in this and you'd left this there for the same week, you would see no corrosion. Because there was some residue and that residue corroded, I suspect when I examine this with a loupe, I will see some minor pitting right here. So that's really not an important aspect of what I'm trying to test, which I'm trying to test the corrosive resistance of this steel alone, but it's still interesting to know. I mean, that can be dealt with in the production process by just eliminating those contact points. Coating hardware, isolated or hidden hardware, etc. But it's still worth taking a look to see how much corrosion that created. But from what I'm seeing so far, aside from this hole, it's interesting that it didn't happen on any of the other holes. I don't know if it's a different bit or a different whatever. That one just happened to have more residue. But it didn't happen on any of the other holes. Or maybe they cleaned the holes up now and just didn't clean that one. I don't know. Aside from that, which is not really surprising, I am seeing zero signs of corrosion on this steel. Again, let me take a look at this right here. Once again, that's just dirty old fish goo. There's no corrosion on here, none. None of that's corrosion. It's dirt and grime right there. Yeah, so guys, the bottom line, after 8 or 10 days, 8 or 9 days on the kayak in that harsh environment, the bottom line on corrosion resistance, I'm giving this the same score that I would give to, say, LC200N. I'm not able to tell any difference between this and the way LC200N would perform, which means it performs better than any stainless steel I've ever tested other than H1. And one other thing I wanted to add, I've used this knife too, obviously. I've been out in the water, I've been normal cutting tasks, I've cleaned a couple of big fish with it, heavy scaled fish, and I started out, let me see if I can find a piece of paper. Yeah, so I got a little piece of paper, let's see if this, I mean, there's gonna be a couple of catches in it, but I mean, gosh dang, I've been using the crap out of the knife. It's still easily, I got a slice, it's not pure push cutting, but this knife's had a lot of use. It's still easily, I won't make you watch me shave with it, but still easily will shave in one pass. It's sharp still, very usable edge. So, I don't have a long-term analysis on the edge performance, but I'm happy with it so far. So far, it's giving me the indication that it will outperform LC200N in abrasion resistance and edge holding in general. Probably today, I'm probably going to drop just to get more information, because this is supposed to be a pretty tough steel. Probably going to drop this factory edge down to 10 or 12 degrees per side, and run it with a lower degree edge just to see how that holds up. Just gather a little more information. But for now, the knife's doing great. It's doing great. It's very corrosion resistant, and the edge is holding up wonderfully. Nothing bad to say about it. I'll take a look at this corrosion and let you know what I find. Okay, guys. Yeah, I just finished examining this hole with the loupe, and the results are interesting and surprising, actually. First thing I did was I used my fingernail in a cloth. I scrubbed all of the rust spot off, got it clean, and then what I often do is I'll take the tip of a sharp knife like this PM Para 3, and I just scratch it and make sure I get all the rust off. But also, when you do this, you can feel if the tip is sinking or biting into a pit, a corrosion pit there. And I didn't feel anything. So then I examined it with a loupe, and there is zero pitting on the Magnacut itself, which is actually a pretty surprising result, because when I've had this phenomenon occur with LC200N, I get that little rust spot off, and I've had it happen with a waterway, for example. That a little bit of rust came out of the hole in the blade, and when I scraped that off, there was a tiny pit there. It didn't continue to rust; it was all good, but it did corrode some of the metal. It did not happen with the Magnacut. This isn't a conclusive test. I mean, there's all kinds of variables. It could be a different dissimilar metal. It could be a different metal in the drill bit. It could corrode differently. The corrosion on the waterway might have stayed on there longer and had more time. Remember, this has only been 8 days. But it's still both a positive and a promising result to see that even though there was some dissimilar metal contact and there was some corrosive material stuck to this Magnacut, there was no underlying corrosion at all. It's a very positive result. Let's don't read too much into it yet, but it's looking good, guys. It's looking really good. I'll be back in another week or two with more info.